In the bitter cold of a Kansas winter morning during late autumn 1944, a German detainee named Anna sprinted across the grounds of the Concordia detention facility with a terror she had never before experienced. Her closest companion, Elise, lay hemorrhaging upon the washroom floor, crimson spreading across her garment in widening pools. Anna's lungs burned as she reached the sentry station, her fists hammering against the wooden door with desperate force. The moment an American serviceman appeared in the doorway, she collapsed against the frame, her face drenched in tears as she made an unthinkable request: to mercifully end her companion's suffering with a bullet. She anticipated the soldier would reach for his sidearm. Wasn't that the inevitable conclusion enemies delivered to one another? Hadn't the propaganda assured them this would be their fate? Yet the serviceman's hand moved not toward his weapon, but toward his communications device. The events that followed would consume 8 extraordinary hours. 8 hours that would obliterate every conviction Anna held regarding Americans, regarding warfare, regarding the very essence of what it meant to be human. The transport locomotive had arrived in the oppressive heat of August 1944. Anna's fingers gripped the iron bars of the freight car as the American landscape rolled past her vision, and what she witnessed defied all comprehension. Residential structures stood pristine and undamaged, painted in brilliant whites with decorative barriers surrounding emerald lawns. Youngsters chased one another through yards in gleeful abandon, accompanied by barking canines. Agricultural workers guided machinery through infinite fields of golden grain. The heavens stretched overhead in flawless azure, and the roadways bore smooth surfaces crowded with automobiles. Nowhere could she detect crater marks from explosives, charred edifices, or mountainous debris where households once existed. Anna had endured 2 years watching her homeland transformed into smoldering ruins. She had witnessed her native city of Bremen vanish neighborhood by neighborhood beneath Allied bombardment. She had navigated past bodies scattered in thoroughfares, inhaled the acrid smoke of her own district burning. Yet here, across the Atlantic, America appeared utterly untouched by the global conflagration. Beside her, Elise whispered through parched lips, observing aloud that nothing appeared destroyed, an impossibility while their cities crumbled to ash. The two women had shared their entire lives, growing up on identical streets in Bremen, enlisting together in auxiliary military services at 19, training as communications specialists, and ultimately captured as their units surrendered on French territory. Now 23, they found themselves transported to a nation that seemed to exist in an entirely separate reality. The freight car contained 40 women, all German auxiliary personnel, predominantly in their early 20s, each face displaying identical expressions, terror mingled with stubborn defiance. They had received explicit instructions regarding their anticipated treatment in American custody. The propaganda had been unambiguous. Americans were lawless gangsters, undisciplined savages without honor. They would starve prisoners, work them to extinction, treat German women as livestock. One officer had addressed them before departure with brutal clarity, warning them not to anticipate mercy. The Americans would exploit them until they broke, then discard them like refuse. Anna had accepted every word. Why would her government deceive its own soldiers? The locomotive decelerated with a prolonged shriek of braking mechanisms. Through the bars, Anna observed their destination rising from the flat Kansas terrain: guard towers, barbed wire perimeters, rows of timber structures painted in dull military green. Camp Concordia, one among more than 500 detention facilities America had constructed across the nation. By the conflict's conclusion, these facilities would house over 400,000 German and Italian detainees, a small army of adversaries fed and sheltered on American soil. Yet Anna possessed no knowledge of these statistics. She only recognized that the compound ahead appeared wrong. It was excessively clean, excessively orderly. The structure stood straight and solid. The grounds maintained immaculate condition. No guard dogs strained against chains. No sounds of anguish pierced the air. The atmosphere entering through the window carried a different scent, arid and dusty certainly, but underneath lay something else, something Anna had nearly forgotten: meat. Actual cooking meat. The aroma drifted across the compound, rich and fatty, causing her empty stomach to constrict with sudden, agonizing hunger. She had not consumed genuine meat in nearly 2 years. In Germany, everything was diverted to frontline soldiers. Civilians survived on watery broth and bread manufactured from sawdust. Elise detected the scent, questioning whether it could be real. Anna responded quickly that it must be for the guards, not for them. Yet even as she spoke, uncertainty crept into her consciousness. Something failed to align properly. The pristine camp, the solid buildings, the aroma of food, none of it matched what she had been promised. The transport doors opened with a metallic clang. American servicemen shouted commands. The women disembarked into the blazing August sun. Anna grasped Elise's hand as they descended. Whatever awaited them inside those gates, they would confront it together. She could not have known that the coming hours would begin fracturing everything she believed about her adversaries. They marched through the compound gates in formations of 4. Anna maintained forward vision, her spine rigid. She had been trained to conceal weakness, yet her hands trembled. As they approached the main structures, that aroma intensified, cooking meat, fresh bread, the kind with crust that fractured when broken. Anna's mouth watered with such intensity she had to swallow repeatedly. She felt ashamed of her hunger. An American officer approached their group, a young woman, perhaps 25, with blonde hair secured neatly beneath her cap. She regarded the German women without hatred, almost with gentleness. She spoke in careful German, welcoming them to Camp Concordia, explaining they would be treated according to the Geneva Convention, would receive nourishment, shelter, and medical attention, would be permitted to write correspondence home. She inquired if there were questions. Silence reigned. No one spoke. Several women trembled visibly. One began weeping quietly. Elise leaned close to Anna's ear, insisting it must be a deception. Anna whispered back that perhaps it was, but that bread aroma was undeniably real. The organized camp was real. Where was the cruelty they had been promised? Before entering the main compound, they underwent processing. The structure ahead displayed a red cross painted on its exterior, a medical facility. Anna's chest tightened. Medical experiments. That was what happened to prisoners, wasn't it? She had heard whispers. A young woman behind them vocalized panic, declaring she did not want to enter. The American officer turned, explaining it was merely a medical examination and shower, standard protocol for all new arrivals. Inside the medical building was impossibly clean. White walls, proper equipment. American nurses in crisp uniforms moved between stations with calm efficiency. One by one, the women underwent examination. Anna watched nervously as those ahead were checked for injuries, for lice, for disease. The nurses were professional, distant perhaps, but not cruel. When Anna's turn came, a nurse indicated a chair. The examination was swift. Hair checked, mouth examined, hands and feet inspected for wounds. Any pain? Any illness? Anna shook her head. Good. Through that door for shower. The shower chamber had white tiles and steam rising in the air. Anna's hands shook harder. This was it. This was where truth would reveal itself. But instead of guards with weapons, there was only a middle-aged American woman in work clothing. She handed Anna a bar of soap. Real soap, white and smooth, smelling like flowers, perhaps lavender. The woman explained in broken German that the shower was hot. To take her time, clean clothes waited on the bench when she finished. Anna stood frozen holding the soap. Hot water. Real soap. Clean clothes. Not humiliation, not cruelty, just basic human dignity. When she stepped beneath the shower, the hot water struck her skin and something fractured inside her. Tears came before she could prevent them. For months she had washed in frigid water when she could wash at all. She had been covered in filth, her hair matted with grime. The hot water cascaded down her back, washing away layers of accumulated dirt. The soap created thick white lather in her hands. She scrubbed her hair, her skin, scrubbed until the water at her feet ran clear. For the first time in longer than she could remember, she felt clean. Clean garments awaited on the bench, simple work dresses, plain but intact. No holes, no tears. They even smelled like laundry soap. Elise emerged from another shower stall, her eyes red. The two women looked at each other without speaking. What could be said? After processing, they were led to the dining hall. The building was long with windows admitting afternoon light. Inside, rows of tables stood ready. The aroma that had been teasing Anna since arrival now struck her with full strength. They lined up. American cooks served food onto metal trays. Anna accepted hers with trembling hands and looked down. Mashed potatoes with real butter melting on top, a thick slice of meatloaf, green beans, white bread with more butter, and in a small cup, something dark and steaming, coffee. Real coffee. They sat at a table with other women from their transport. For a long moment, no one touched their food. They simply stared. Someone whispered it could be poisoned. Another woman responded, then why give them showers first? Why waste the soap? Anna picked up her fork. Her hand shook as she scooped up mashed potato and brought it to her mouth. The taste exploded on her tongue, creamy, rich, buttery, real potatoes, not the watery turnip mash or sawdust bread they had survived on for 2 years in Germany. She started crying again, unable to help it. Around the table, other women began eating. Some cried. Some laughed with a sound close to hysteria. One woman ate so rapidly she choked and had to be patted on the back. The meatloaf was real beef, ground and seasoned and baked. Anna had not eaten beef in 3 years. The bread was soft and white, dissolving in her mouth, and the coffee, bitter, strong and real, not the roasted acorns they had called coffee back home. Anna noticed American soldiers eating at tables near the back of the hall. They had identical food, identical portions. The prisoners were not being given scraps. They were eating the same meal as their captors. By 1944, the United States was feeding over 150,000 German prisoners of war held in compounds across the country. Each prisoner received the same daily ration as American soldiers, 2,800 calories. Meanwhile, in Germany, civilian rations had dropped below 1,500 calories per day. Elise observed quietly that they were being fed like the Americans fed themselves. The thought made Anna's head spin. What kind of adversary did that? What kind of nation? After the meal, they were shown to their barracks. Inside were rows of bunk beds, each with a real mattress, a pillow and 2 folded wool blankets. Anna pressed her hand against the mattress. It was thin, certainly, but real, not straw on wooden planks, not the cold floor she had slept on during the chaotic retreat through France. She unfolded one of the blankets, thick wool, clean, smelling fresh. A stove sat in the center of the barracks. An American guard had demonstrated how to use it before leaving, explaining it would get cold here in winter and they would need heat. Heat in winter for prisoners. That night, lying in her bunk with a full stomach for the first time in months, wrapped in a clean wool blanket, Anna could not sleep. Everything they had told her about the Americans was wrong. And if that was a lie, what else had the government lied about? Wake-up call came at 6 in the morning, not with screamed orders or violence, but with a simple bell. The women dressed and lined up for morning roll call. Names were called. Attendance was taken. The process was efficient but not harsh. No one was struck. No one was threatened. Breakfast was served at 7. Every morning, the same impossible abundance. Oatmeal with brown sugar, toast with jam, eggs, coffee. Always coffee. Real coffee. After breakfast came work assignments. Anna and Elise were assigned to the camp laundry facility. The work was hard, certainly. Their hands grew red and raw from washing uniforms for American soldiers. They scrubbed, rinsed, hung clothes to dry, folded them neatly. But here was the thing that made Anna's brain struggle to understand. They were paid. Paid in American currency, 80 cents per day. Why would they pay them? Anna asked Elise one morning as they scrubbed stains from an officer's shirt. They were prisoners. They could force them to work for nothing. An older woman working nearby answered. She had been a schoolteacher in Hamburg before the war. Geneva Convention, she explained. It requires fair treatment of prisoners, including payment for work. And they actually follow it? Anna asked. The teacher gave her a tired smile. Apparently. With their earnings, the women could purchase things at the camp canteen. Small things, luxuries they had not seen in years. Chocolate bars, cigarettes, extra soap, writing paper. The first time Anna held enough coins to buy a chocolate bar, she stood outside the canteen for 5 full minutes just staring at it. The brown wrapper, the name in English letters. Chocolate. Real chocolate. She had not tasted chocolate in 4 years. In Germany, all chocolate went to the military. Civilians received nothing. When she bit into it, the sweetness almost hurt. It melted on her tongue, rich and creamy. Her knees went weak. She had to sit down on a bench. Elise found her there, tears running down her face, half a chocolate bar in her hand. Elise said quietly that she knew, holding up her own chocolate bar. She knew. The days fell into routine. Breakfast at 7, work until noon, lunch, more work until 6, dinner, then free time. Lunch was always substantial. Soup and sandwiches, meat and vegetables. Dinner brought more of the same. Sometimes there was even dessert, apple pie, cookies, cake made with real sugar and real butter. After dinner, the women could write letters home, though American censors read them first. They could borrow books from the camp library. They could simply sit and talk. On Sundays there was no work. They could attend religious services if they wanted, Catholic or Protestant. The camp provided both. The routine became almost normal. That was what frightened Anna most. How quickly she was forgetting what real captivity should feel like. 3 weeks after arriving at Camp Concordia, Anna received her first letter from home. The envelope was thin, the paper inside thinner. Her mother's handwriting shook across the page, probably from cold or hunger or both. Anna sat on her bunk and read with trembling hands. Bremen was destroyed, her mother wrote. Their house had been struck in a bombing raid. Gone. Nothing left but rubble. She was living in a basement shelter with 6 other families, 15 people in a space meant for one family. There was almost no food except what ration cards allowed, and the rations had been cut again. A slice of bread per day, watery soup, sometimes potatoes if they were lucky. No heat, no electricity. Water came from a communal pump 2 blocks away, and they had to carry it in buckets. The letter ended simply, "I am glad you are safe, my darling. Wherever you are, it must be better than here. All my love, Mother." Anna folded the letter carefully. Her hands would not stop shaking. Her mother was living in a basement, starving, freezing, and Anna was here in America eating 3 meals a day, sleeping in a bed with blankets. She had bought chocolate yesterday. The guilt struck her like a physical blow. She doubled over, pressing the letter against her chest, trying not to scream. Elise found her an hour later curled on her bunk, eyes red and swollen. "Letter from home?" Anna nodded. "Mine too," Elise said quietly. "My brother is missing, probably dead somewhere in Russia. My little sister has tuberculosis, but there is no medicine left in the city." They sat together in silence. Around them, other women read their own letters, crying their own tears. The guilt was collective, suffocating. By late 1944, civilian rations in German cities had been cut to 1,000 calories per day. Children were dying of malnutrition. The elderly froze in their beds. Meanwhile, German prisoners in American camps received 2,800 calories daily. Hot showers, medical care, heated barracks. That evening at dinner, Anna could barely eat. The food tasted like ash in her mouth. How could she swallow this beef when her mother was starving? But she ate anyway because her body needed it, because refusing would change nothing. The routine continued. Wake, work, eat, sleep, repeat. Anna started to notice things about the American guards. They were so casual, so relaxed. They chewed gum while on duty. They made jokes with each other. They listened to jazz music on small radios. One guard, a young man they called Thomas, who sometimes worked near the laundry building, tried to teach them English phrases. "Hello, thank you, please, you're welcome." He was friendly, not in a threatening way, just friendly, like they were people, not enemies. After 6 weeks, Anna noticed something else. Her body was changing. She looked down at her arms one morning. They had filled out. Not fat but healthy. The sharp angles of starvation had softened. When she caught her reflection in a window, she barely recognized herself. Color had returned to her cheeks. Her hair, washed regularly, now had regained its shine. She looked healthy. The enemy had made her healthy while her own country let her starve. That thought haunted her more than any nightmare. October came, bringing cooler weather to Kansas. The women were issued warmer clothes, sweaters, jackets, proper shoes with thick soles. No one had asked for them. The Americans simply provided them. One morning, while Anna hung wet laundry on the drying lines, an American soldier approached. He was older, perhaps 40, with gray hair at his temples. His name tag read Sergeant Morrison. He held out a pack of cigarettes. "Smoke?" Anna hesitated, then took one. She did not smoke often, but cigarettes had become a kind of currency in camp, a way to be social. Morrison lit it for her, then lit his own. They stood in silence for a moment, smoke curling into the cool morning air. Then Morrison spoke in careful German. "You have family in Germany?" "My mother," Anna said. "In Bremen." Morrison nodded slowly. "I have a daughter about your age. She is a nurse in France right now." The moment stretched between them. This man's daughter was treating wounded American soldiers. Anna's countrymen were trying to kill those soldiers. Yet here they stood sharing cigarettes like normal people. "This war is stupid," Morrison said suddenly. "All wars are stupid, but this one especially." Anna stared at him. "In Germany you did not criticize the war. You did not question. Questioning was dangerous. People disappeared for less." But Morrison had just done exactly that, an American soldier criticizing the war, and no one arrested him. He took another drag on his cigarette. "You are young," he said. "You should not be here. You should be home living your life." "There is no home to go back to," Anna said quietly. "Bremen is destroyed." Morrison looked at her with something like pity. "Yeah," he said. "War does that." He stubbed out his cigarette and walked away, leaving Anna standing there with questions spinning in her head. Interactions like that became common as weeks passed. The American guards were not cruel. They were not even particularly strict. They did their jobs with tired professionalism, like men who would rather be anywhere else. Thomas, the young guard who taught them English, sometimes brought magazines. Life, Look, the Saturday Evening Post. The women gathered around them like children around a storybook. They stared at photographs of American life. The abundance shocked them. Page after page of advertisements, cars, refrigerators, washing machines, and food. So much food. Photographs of families gathered around tables loaded with turkeys, hams, pies, vegetables. Is this real? Elise asked one evening, pointing at an advertisement showing a smiling family at a picnic. Do Americans really live like this? The schoolteacher from Hamburg studied the magazine carefully. America was not touched by the war like Europe was, she said. No bombs, no invasion. They are still whole. Oh. The word hung in the air. Germany was shattered into pieces. America was whole. One Sunday, a group of American civilians came to the camp. Church ladies, someone said. They brought donations, blankets, books, knitted socks. An older woman with white hair approached Anna. She pressed a pair of thick wool socks into her hands. For winter, she said in broken German. God bless you, dear. Anna stood there holding the socks, tears running down her face. This woman, this enemy woman, had knitted socks for her, for a German prisoner, for an enemy. What? That question was destroying everything Anna thought she knew about the world. At night, after lights out, the women whispered in the darkness. They debated what it all meant. This is psychological warfare, one woman insisted. They are trying to break our spirits. By feeding us? Another responded. By keeping us warm? What kind of warfare is that? The most effective kind, the first woman shot back. Because it is working. Look at us. We are forgetting who we are. Or maybe, the schoolteacher said quietly, we are remembering who we are supposed to be, human beings, not soldiers, not tools, just people. The debates circled endlessly. No one had answers. Everyone had doubts. Anna found herself watching the Americans more closely, how they moved through the world with such ease, how they joked and laughed, how soldiers of different backgrounds worked side by side. In Germany there had been rigid hierarchies. Officers ate better than enlisted men. Party members had privileges others did not. Everything was about rank and heritage and who deserved what. But here the system seemed different, looser, and it worked. The camp ran smoothly without the fear and brutality she had known. Maybe, Anna thought, there was more than one way to organize a society, more than one way to be strong. The thought was dangerous, treasonous even, but it would not leave her alone. By late November, Anna had been at Camp Concordia for 3 months. She had gained 12 pounds. Her hair was healthy. Her skin had color. She slept in a warm bed every night. And every morning she woke up feeling guilty for being alive and well while Germany burned. But underneath the guilt was something else, something she was almost afraid to name. Relief. She was relieved to be here. Relieved to be safe. Relieved to be a prisoner. What kind of person felt relief at being captured by the enemy? It happened on a Tuesday morning in late November. Anna and Elise were working in the laundry as usual. Steam rose from the washing basins. The air smelled of soap and wet fabric. Elise had complained of stomach pain the day before but said it was nothing, probably just ate something that disagreed with her. But that morning Elise looked wrong. Her face was pale, almost gray. Sweat beaded on her forehead despite the cold. Are you all right? Anna asked. I am fine, Elise said, but her voice was strained. Just the pain is worse today. By mid-morning, Elise was leaning against the washing basin, gripping the edge with white knuckles. Her breathing came fast and shallow. Elise, you need to see the doctor. No, Elise shook her head. It will pass. I just need to. She never finished the sentence. Her eyes rolled back. Her knees buckled. She collapsed. Anna caught her before she hit the concrete floor. She lowered Elise down as gently as she could, her heart hammering in her chest. Help. She screamed in German, then in broken English, help. Please. Blood was seeping through Elise's dress, dark red, spreading across her abdomen. Anna pressed her hand against the wound, trying to stop the bleeding, but she knew. She had seen this before during the chaotic retreat through France. Internal bleeding, probably a ruptured appendix. Without surgery, Elise would die slowly, painfully. And the Americans would never waste surgery on an enemy prisoner. Why would they? Better to end it quickly. Better to shoot her than let her suffer for hours. That was mercy. Anna looked down at her best friend's pale face. They had known each other since they were 7 years old. They had grown up together, learned to ride bicycles together, joined the war together. She could not let Elise die in agony. Stay with her. Anna shouted to the other women. Then she ran. She sprinted across the compound, her lungs burning. She reached the guard post and pounded on the door with both fists. A young American soldier opened it, surprise on his face. Please, Anna gasped in English. My friend dying. Please shoot her. Mercy, please. The soldier's eyes went wide. Shoot her? What? No. Wait. He grabbed his radio and barked into it. Medical emergency. Laundry building. Need ambulance now. Within seconds, alarms were sounding across the camp. Not battle alarms, medical alarms. Show me where she is, the soldier said. Quick. Anna stared at him, not understanding. Then it hit her. They were not going to shoot Elise. They were going to try to save her. The ambulance arrived in less than 3 minutes. 2 medics jumped out with a stretcher. Anna led them to the laundry building where Elise lay on the floor barely conscious. The medics worked fast, checking pulse, blood pressure, examining the wound. Possible ruptured appendix, one said in English. We need to get her to surgery now. Surgery. The word hit Anna like a punch. They lifted Elise onto the stretcher, started an intravenous line right there, wrapped her in blankets. Anna followed them to the ambulance. Please, she said to one of the medics. Can I come? She's my friend. She will be scared alone. The medic looked at the guard, who shrugged. Need permission from the captain. The captain arrived moments later. He looked at Anna, then at Elise on the stretcher. She can go, he said. Then he pointed at a guard standing nearby. Davis, you go with them. The ride to the hospital in the nearby town was a blur. Anna sat in the back of the ambulance, holding Elise's cold hand. Elise's eyes fluttered open briefly. Anna, she whispered. I am here, Anna said. You will be all right. The doctors will help you. Will they? Elise's voice was so faint. Why would they? I do not know, Anna admitted. But they are trying. At the hospital, everything moved even faster. Elise was rushed through doors marked surgery. Nurses surrounded her, taking vitals, preparing her. A surgeon appeared, older, perhaps 50, with gray hair and steady hands. He looked at Elise's chart, then at Elise herself. Ruptured appendix with peritonitis, he said to the nurses. Prep operating room. Type and cross for blood. Let's move. Anna grabbed his arm. Please, she said in German, then tried in English. Please help her. She is a good person. Please. The surgeon looked at her with something like compassion. He answered in careful German, We will do everything we can. I promise. They wheeled Elise away. Anna tried to follow, but a nurse gently stopped her. You have to wait here. The surgery will take several hours. Several hours. They were going to operate for several hours on a German prisoner. Guard Davis pointed to the waiting room. Come on, we sit. The waiting room had hard plastic chairs and old magazines. Anna sat down, unable to think clearly. Davis offered her a cup of terrible hospital coffee. She took it. 1 hour passed, then 2, then 3. Other families came and went, Americans waiting for their loved ones. They glanced at Anna's prison clothes with curiosity, but no one was cruel. One older woman even offered her a sandwich. You look hungry, dear. 4 hours, 5, 6. The sun was setting when the surgeon finally emerged. His surgical gown was stained with blood. He looked exhausted. Anna jumped to her feet. Elise? The surgeon pulled down his mask. She is alive. The appendix had ruptured. There was significant infection. We had to clean out the abdominal cavity completely. It was touch and go for a while, but she pulled through. She will live? Anna whispered. If there are no complications, yes. She will need to stay here at least a week, maybe 2, but yes, she should recover. Anna's legs gave out. She sat down hard, tears streaming down her face. The surgeon sat beside her, still in his bloody gown. Your friend is very lucky. Another hour and we would have lost her. Thank you, Anna managed through her tears. He patted her shoulder gently. It is what we do. All lives have value. All lives have value. Those 5 words shattered everything Anna had been taught. The surgeon had spent 8 hours saving Elise's life. 8 hours of delicate surgery, American medical supplies, American blood in the transfusion, American expertise, all for a German prisoner, an enemy, because all lives have value. The government had taught Anna that some lives mattered more than others, that Germans were superior, that enemies were less than human, that resources should never be wasted on the weak. But this American surgeon had just proven that teaching wrong with his actions. Anna was allowed to see Elise in the recovery room. Elise lay in a hospital bed, pale but breathing. Intravenous lines ran into both arms. Bandages covered her abdomen, but her chest rose and fell steadily. She was alive. Anna took her friend's hand and wept, not just from relief, but from the weight of understanding. Everything she had believed was a lie. And that was the most terrifying revelation of all. Elise spent 12 days in the hospital. Anna was allowed to visit every day, always with guard Davis escorting her. The hospital staff treated Elise like any other patient. The nurses checked on her regularly. They changed her bandages, brought her meals, gave her pain medicine when she needed it. One nurse, a young woman named Betty, was especially kind. She brought Elise extra pillows, helped her sit up to eat, chatted with her in broken German about simple things. The weather, Betty's cat, a movie she had seen. Normal conversation, human conversation, as if they were not enemies at all. On the fourth day, Elise was awake enough to really talk. Anna sat by her bed, holding her hand. "I thought I was going to die," Elise said quietly. "I could feel it. The darkness coming. I thought you would too," Anna admitted. "That is why I asked them to shoot you. I thought it would be mercy." Elise smiled weakly. "But they did not shoot me. They saved me instead." 8 hours, Anna said. "The doctor told me. 8 hours of surgery." They sat in silence for a moment. "Anna," Elise said finally, "we were lied to about everything." "I know. The Americans are not monsters. They are," Elise's voice caught, "they are better than we were. Better than the government." Saying it out loud felt like treason, but it also felt like truth. When Elise was finally released and returned to camp, the other women crowded around her. They wanted to hear the story, wanted to know what happened. Elise told them about the surgery, about the surgeon who worked for 8 hours, about the nurses who treated her with kindness, about the American blood that now flowed in her veins from the transfusion. The story spread through the entire camp. It became a turning point for many of the women. If the Americans would do that for one prisoner, what else had they been wrong about? Anna wrote to her mother about it. She tried to explain what she had learned, what she had seen. "Mother," she wrote, "I have witnessed something here that I cannot explain. The enemy treats us with more humanity than we ever showed anyone else. I am ashamed of what we believed. I am ashamed of what we supported. But I am also grateful to be alive and to have learned this truth, however painful it is." She did not know if her mother would understand. She did not know if the letter would even reach her. But she needed to say it. The war would end eventually. In the spring of the following year, Germany would surrender. Anna and the other prisoners would be repatriated. They would return to a country in ruins, to families broken by loss, to cities reduced to rubble. But they would return changed. They carried with them the knowledge that mercy is more powerful than cruelty, that kindness can destroy false certainty more completely than violence ever could. Elise lived another 50 years after that day. She married, had children, built a life in post-war Germany. But she never forgot the American surgeon who saved her. Every year on the anniversary of her surgery, she lit a candle and said a prayer of thanks. "He did not have to," she would tell anyone who asked. "That is what makes it matter. He did not have to save me. But he did anyway, because in his world my life had value. Even though I was the enemy." Years later, Anna would tell her own children about the day Elise almost died, about running to the guard post and begging them to shoot her friend, about the 8-hour surgery that followed. "That was the moment," she would say, "when I understood that everything I had been taught was wrong. The Americans could have let Elise die. Why waste resources on an enemy?" They did not see her as an enemy. They saw her as a human being in need of help. And that, Anna would tell her children, is the difference between civilization and barbarism, not the weapons you have or the battles you win, but how you treat the helpless, how you treat your enemy. That simple plea, "Please just shoot her," became the moment Anna's entire world shattered and rebuilt itself. The Americans did not shoot Elise. They fought for 8 hours to save her. They used their blood, their medicine, their expertise, not because they had to, but because they believed all lives have value. For Anna and the other German prisoners at Camp Concordia, that surgical theater became a classroom. The soap, the bread, the blankets, those were small daily mercies. But 8 hours of surgery for a dying enemy? That was proof of something deeper, proof that some nations, some people operated by principles that transcended war. The greatest victories are not always won on battlefields. Sometimes they are won in hospitals, in acts of unexpected mercy, in decisions to treat enemies as human beings deserving of dignity. How we treat those in our power defines who we are. That is the legacy of those 8 hours.